Hello.
Okay, let's get started because I'm not sure whether there will be too many more, and if so, we'll notice after having gone through the agenda. Speaking of agenda, there is not much on the plate today for today. File magic is in the pipeline, and I've just finished and uploaded the overhauled Shepherd write-up, and I don't think there is much more to say unless someone wants to say something to that right now.
Well, you gave us about 0 seconds to read through this before this meeting, so.
Yeah, I'm not asking for comments on the Shepherd write-up, more on the topic of kind of is there anything on the document as a whole that you'd like to report? Michael and you uploaded the two latest versions right before the cutoff, so I think people have seen that. Hello, Michael.
Yeah, the only comment I have is one general one. The term CBOR objects can be very confusing to people coming from the JSON side because the term object means something there. So I'm trying to avoid the term CBOR objects. So I usually say CBOR data items, but that's maybe more important for the actual documents than for the Shepherd write-up.
Is this something that you still plan to change, or is this something that can be that might come up during the IESG review?
I'm talking about the Shepherd review. If we have an instance of CBOR objects in the draft, that would
well, the
anger me.
abstract says CBOR objects, so.
Oh my god.
One instance.
But it's the only one.
Yeah. I think we can go into AD review with that item noted.
Yes, I'll point that out in the write-up.
Always write the abstract last. I just always think that it's always a mistake to put anything other than to be determined until you're really done.
Well, actually, I tell my students they have to write, well, that's about the introduction, not really the abstract, but the same thing kind of applies. They have to write it twice. They have to write it at the beginning so they know what they are setting out to do, and then they have to rewrite it at the end because then they know what they should have been setting out to do.
That still is the kind of things that we can easily fix. If if that's the only thing that remains to be changed, so be it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we will be able to benefit from the amazing services of Ben Keddak on this one. Probably not, given the timing. He generally does interesting things to our documents.
But with that, I think the plan stands to submit the document from the working group into the IESG review with a Shepherd review that just points out that there is this small single word in the abstract that will need changing. And something about the IANA considerations, but I'm just about to send that mail, so doesn't need further discussion, I think.
So I don't know how I can promise that will happen before the IETF meeting. That's for your information. I will try to not introduce too much delay, but anyway, even if I finish my AD review, the last call will probably need to be longer because, IETF is coming. Yeah.
Given that there is no CBOR meeting during the IETF, I'm not sure whether there is any kind of any urgency in the matter of 1 week earlier or 1 week later. Okay, thank you. I think this concludes the topic of file magic. I've put one more of a question to the agenda in about other documents, but really the larger question is there anything anyone would like to bring up today that we should also talk about?
Well, I would like to know whether people are implementing the PACT specification, because I have been a bit slow in finishing that implementation. And of course, there are many ways to implement it because the compressor is not specified, only the decompressor is specified. So you can do amazing things in the compressor or do a very basic thing. Both would be valid implementations. But it would be good to get some more feedback from other people as well.
I plan on implementing some for Coral, but I haven't started with that yet.
Okay.
It might also help to reach out to the suit people again here to ask whether they would be willing to start even at this early stage.
Yeah, so just to remind people, an implementation of PACT is part of the CBOR diagnostic package. So if you have CBOR diagnostic installed, you have PACT. So you can play around with what my compressor and decompressor are doing at this time. That is not entirely bug-free yet, so I still need to work on that. And of course, the compressor is somewhat pedestrian at the moment. Well, it's not would be, it actually is part of CBOR diagnostic. So you have had it on your laptops for half a year now. And I think it's even in CBOR.me. Let me check that whether I actually did that. No, I didn't. Okay, maybe I should do that.
Mentioning it in the context of CBOR diagnostic is an interesting point here, because that's what I would have liked to talk about later as well. Diagnostic notation on packing, but let's wait briefly. Okay. So picking that up there. Do you have any plans or tried things around diagnostic notation for packed things? Because I've written them down a lot for Coral, and readability is let's say lacking, because packed means there are different tags around that are all numeric, and so do you have ideas yet how that could be made more readable?
Yeah, one obvious way, of course, would be to have special notation for the references. So you don't have, well, it doesn't make a big difference with simple, but for the tags, it would probably be useful to have some special notation that shows the actual index. Now, additional function of a diagnostic tool might be to actually include more information when you actually have a reference, more information, so you don't have to look up the item by yourself. But I haven't designed that, so if somebody has an idea how this might look like, so that in the diagnostic notation you essentially are seeing the unpacked form, but you see it with the breadcrumbs in place, so you can see where that data was packed to or gotten from in the table. So because then maybe you have the strongest intuitions about what would help you when working with these items in diagnostic notation.
The thing, well, the thing that that I'd like to have, but I think it's spanning too many layers to be practical, would be that they work a bit like queries, because that's what I would eventually use them for. But I don't quite see how that would work out syntactically. So if we have something like, I'm starting to edit that right away in the notes. If we have something that looks like, Marco, could you move down your cursor? For some reason, you're precisely blocking it. Thank you. So this is obviously not exactly a CRI, but it looks a bit like it might look like one, and that would be compressed to. Sorry, that would expand to this. So now this is all without packing yet. And if packing came in, it would certainly be nice to have some way to say what this is actually short for. Okay, that's a bad example.
Are you trying to share something?
No, I'm in the notepad, lines 37. Thing is, any compression that way would interleave with it would interfere also with the dictionary setup. So that's probably not what it could be. What I think it could rather be is something like there could be the concrete number this is compressed to, say entry item 50, and then I don't know yet. Maybe a comment right in there, or just a comment
Yeah.
in a separate position. But the EDN is probably already suited for doing something like this. It would be just another addition that says 50 p something numeric expands to the tag from the dictionary with the number 50, and then the additional information what this is expanded to, possibly even in a more compact form, could be provided along with the dictionary.
Where did you get the left-hand side of the query from?
That would I think that would need to be passed from the dictionary, because that's the only place where it knows where it knows these things. And
The
if it's
dictionary
not
doesn't know that. The
yeah,
only
the dictionary only knows that this only knows that this expands to this.
Yeah.
That's what the dictionary. Then again, the tool for the diagnostic notation might have additional information, even about that dictionary, depending on how the dictionary is set up. That would allow it to find a shorter way to express that, because the expanded form is not necessarily more useful to the reader than the compact form.
Yeah.
So if the dictionary were transferred over the network, there might be a kind of a short form that's necessary for expanding, and one with additional data that is obtained by diagnostic tools that has such shorthands. But then again, this is all only shaped by what I could use in Coral, and things might look completely different for, say, Suite.
Yeah.
But this theme of having a compact version of the name of the value that is neither the numeric identifier, which might change depending on the dictionary setup, nor the fully expanded version, which might not be useful to the reader, might be common to more than just Coral.
So this is what my built-in algorithm for creating compact names for dictionary entries would generate from the first line in your example. Maybe you should change your example a little bit. It's not acceptable for German readers.
I think the point is I don't have a clear plan here. I just have a few vague ideas that may help shape this in the future or not. Trying to give everyone a bit of time to come up with other things they could throw in here.
Yeah, I could imagine writing that pretty soon to help me actually get the last bugs out of the packed implementation. So I think that is actually a pretty high priority item. If we want to work with packed, we need to be able to understand what we are doing.
Yep. Okay. I think that's about as far as we'll come today. Anyone want a bit more time to think about this for now, or otherwise I suggest we conclude this meeting a lot earlier today, because that would have been the last item on the agenda.
What else do we have on our agenda for the working group period? Like, I mean, not today, but in general. Basically, I'm asking, is there new work that we're missing out or ignoring or something? Or
I'm not aware of anything that is coming up as something new, other than the CDDL for CSVs, of which I'm not sure whether Carsten is joking or not. Other than that, it
was
might.
not a joke. I mean, it's just showing how to use something we have in a domain where it hasn't been used yet. So it's not really even a specification, although it would become one when people would use that for defining an actual CSV document. But I think it's actually useful to think about areas of applications like this, because we do have a lack of formal description techniques for various things we are doing, and people pointed me to that problem with the CSV, and I said, well, yeah, why not do this with CGDL?
But does this serve more as a template to do the other things where it would actually become relevant, or are CSVs still in such active use that it in areas where CDDL is relevant as
Well,
okay, yeah,
I was
CDDL
prompted.
has become relevant to those areas.
I was prompted by an actual specification that people were trying to write for a CSV format. So this is not theoretical.
Okay.
So, Carsten, just to be clear, you're not just talking about CDDL to describe the CSV format, but to describe the contents of the columns.
Yes. So the generic data model is essentially that of a matrix, and that is transformed into CSV form on the representation format level, but the CDDL describes the data model, and so it would say what the various columns can be. Can there be strings? Can there be numbers? What's the range of the numbers, and so on.
I think the open data community is probably desperate for something more detailed. It's right now, very much, here's a Word document that badly explains what some entity is exporting.
Yeah,
and
it's usually an Excel document, but yes.
Oh, well, that's more advanced, because in many cases it's a Word document where from a person that doesn't know where the save as PDF is, because that's beyond their capability. Anyway, I don't know if it's relevant to this working group, but I don't object to you doing it, but I just not sure that it's the right place to get review. Anyway, I'm happy to close the meeting now. Sorry, I just was curious what other things were keeping this working group up at night, and I'm not hearing There's a lot.
Well, there's the whole topic of CDDL2 brewing, but that does not have a corresponding internet draft yet. So,
well, we have the freezer document which has some of that, but
okay, yeah.
In particular, the specific way in which multiple CDDL specifications are combined into a semantic whole, that is still wobbling around a little bit at the moment. So the module mechanism. Yeah, so we will have one working group document left when FileMagick leaves into the ISG, which is packed.
Yeah. So one thing in the working group, one thing around, and one thing brewing is kind of not a lot, but still keeping us busy.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And notable tags is kind of probably a second one of the class. It's around. It will go somewhere. It is in no hurry.
Right. So the one thing that came up was the language tags discussion that was relatively urgent. So we need to have that.
Yeah, I've received a bit of feedback from Peter already, come back and forth through mails. There appear to be implementations that don't check for the length of the tags, but I'll have to check the precise implementations to see whether it can make sense to go language, text, direction, or whether we should just, which would be the easier way, and also something that Peter Ockel suggested, just pick another tag.
Right. So how do you pronounce his last name?
I'd say Ockel, but that's a guess.
We need to pull him into one of these meetings.
Yeah, that might help.
Okay.
Okay. In that case, I think we're done for today. Thank you all for being here and participating. Thanks, Marco, for taking minutes. And see you all in Vienna or remotely in Vienna, I'd assume. Have a good evening.
Nobody can travel to Vienna. Austria is not a NATO country, so it's not safe.
See you in Vienna. Bye-bye.
See you eventually there. Bye-bye.